Welcome to Retirement with Jim. So today, do you really need 80% of your income in retirement? So before we get started, if you like my channel, please consider hitting the like button and subscribe. Helps my channel grow. With that, and also be happy leave comments. I'd love to hear from you. So let's get started. So this is an article that came from Motley Fool. Does a lot of investments and retirement things that it looks at. So it is often said you need 80% of what your income was, in your lifetime to retire on. Now, that might be true for some, but it also depends on your lifestyle. Your lifestyle is going to play a huge role in how much money you're really going to need in retirement. So Social Security only replaces, on average, 40% of your income. So that's why it's said that you really can't live on Social Security alone. Some people do, though. So 40% of your wages. That's the 80% comes from the logic that applies to that, because they're taking into account maintaining the lifestyle that you were used to without making sacrifices. So you're looking at. They're saying 80% because they're saying with Social Security, you need more money, and to maintain at least 80%, you're only giving up 20%. You should be fine. So, so one of the key factors to think about in this equation that really makes you say, do you need 80%, is, do you have children? A little bit of a big mystery there. So the majority of your bills really pretty much stay the same. Your taxes, your real estate taxes, your maintenance on your home, your car, your eating out or just eating groceries, medication. Always got to consider that when you're getting older. And of course, entertainment. Now, entertainment can be a larger budget when you get older because you don't have work anymore. So you got to do something else to fill your time. So let's look at it realistically. Being a parent it's expensive. I know, I had 3. And especially if you have more than one, that cost goes up substantially, over time. All kinds of things you're going to do, whether your kids are involved in, school activities, music, sports. My oldest was involved in music, loved music. And he kind of went from one instrument to another until I finally learned that, I can rent those for a whole lot cheaper than buying them. And because, as kids, they're a little bit fickle. I don't want to do it anymore. Our youngest wanted to play lacrosse. We bought all kinds of equipment. Didn't learn our lesson because didn't stick with it. So you can get into a lot of things that cost you a lot of money, not just, putting a roof over their head, paying for bills, schooling, eating, your utilities, kids, all the devices they have, things like that. So it really is expensive to be a parent. Now, once your children leave, that is, of course, assuming they do. Today, you can only make an assumption on that. I'm a fortunate man. All of mine have moved on, and it's just my wife and I. But assuming they do, your expenses should go down, of course. So at that point, that's offering you an opportunity, to save more money, and especially while you may be at your peak earning years. So you can really, say, okay, kids are gone. It's time to take those kind of investments and that you had in your children and start putting them into your own savings. Now, that means, of course, that, are you supporting adult children? So when I say you're realizing savings, that is assuming that you aren't paying their car insurance, you aren't buying them a new car, you aren't paying for their utilities, or their phone bills, you aren't paying their groceries or paying their rent. At some point, there has to be an expectation, at least in my concern, that they really truly are adults living out their lives as adults, and they're independent and they're doing their thing, which means they're no longer, reaching into your wallet. So, and I know that's a tough thing for some parents. Some parents just, feel like they got to do, more and more for their children all the time. And it's one of those never ending debates. Are you really helping them or are you hurting them? So, but keep that in mind, that affects the 80% rule, because if your expenses have gone down, and that's not even you downsizing, you then can realize that maybe you don't need 80% of your income to be replaced. Maybe you can do with 65% of your income replaced. So it really, kind of begs the question, if you can help your own case by directing more money into your IRAs or your 401k, so that you can, really, and believe me, if your kids are out of the house at an early enough age for yourself, you might be able to get 10 or 15 years of, depending on when you start having children, of extra savings involved in that. So it's kind of food for thought. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree. Let me know in the comments below. So with that, I'm going to tell you have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.